Passing your APC to become a chartered member of the RICS can seem overwhelming for a lot of APC candidates, so the guidance contained in this video is really aimed to help anybody working towards their APC currently. It contains a lot of free links to resources such as an APC diary, step-by-step guide, and mock interview questions, so be sure to look out for the links on how to access these resources during the video. We'll also touch on how to avoid a lot of the common mistakes that I often see APC candidates make, such as being aware of the very important word counts and being careful not to use a script during the final assessment interview presentation. And I believe a lot of the following tips will really help improve your chances of passing the APC first time. So without further ado, let's get straight into the guidance on how to pass the APC. One of the key pieces of advice I give to a lot of APC candidates is to be organised. I highly recommend that all APC candidates formulate a plan of the key activities involved, and this needs to include keeping on top of diary entries and summary of experience entries as you progress. You also need to be sure to sign off competencies with your supervisor and counsellor, and keep up to date with your CPD. By ensuring that your documentation is completed in good time, this will create more time later down the line to revise for the all-important final assessment interview. You don't want to leave your documentation until the last minute, as this is really when you need to focus on revising for the final assessment. To help with the organisation of the APC, there is a free diary template within the link in the description below. It includes a step-by-step guide on the key activities to complete each month as the APC progresses. This includes activities starting with enrolling on the APC, populating your diary and CPD template entries, signing off competencies with your supervisor and counsellor, and as you progress it then moves into the other key activities such as compiling the case study. And if you are to follow this plan, I really believe this will help with organisation and making sure that your documentation is in a good place, and this then allows more time later down the line to revise for the final assessment interview. A piece of advice I would give to any APC candidate is to download and follow the candidate guides. This includes important guidance on those all-important word counts. As we can see within the attached candidate guide, if you're not careful to stick to the all-important word counts, the RICS can reserve the right to cancel your final assessment interview. The case study format is very clearly set out with an introduction, approach, achievements and conclusion. All supporting documentation should be included within an appendices, and again the RICS is very prescriptive with the format and how the case study is structured, so be very careful again to follow the guidance note. There is an example case study format included within the link in the description below, and if it's a case that you are struggling to think of ideas for your case study or how to structure this, I did do a separate video on how to compile the case study, which I'd really recommend watching. The pathway guides do also clearly detail how to achieve each of the all-important competencies, and the guides again are very prescriptive with what experience you can allocate into each competency. As we can see within the back of the quantity surveying guide, this contains a checklist of the examples of experience that fall into each competency and how these can be achieved. So again, it's very important to download a copy of the pathway guide that you're working towards and being very careful to allocate your experience into each competency appropriately. Again, if it's a case that you're really struggling with how to allocate your experience and how to achieve each of the competencies, I did do a separate video on this, which I'd really recommend watching. The next piece of advice I would give to anybody working towards their APC is being sure to practice your Q&A verbally in preparation for the final assessment interview, and this includes a good amount of practice on the appropriate interview technique. It's a really good idea to practice answering questions verbally within a study group if possible, or with a friend or family member, and recreating the format and setting of the final assessment interview will really help prepare you. So I'd highly recommend that all candidates attend at least 2 to 3 mock interviews. It's also really important to practice answering level 1, level 2 and level 3 questions and being aware of how your terminology should change when addressing these. For example, for a level 2 question, it's absolutely essential that you talk in the past tense about the experience that you have personally gained, whereas for level 3 questions, it's imperative that you reflect on the advice that you have given to clients. And again, it's very important to talk in the past tense about the experience that you have personally gained. Again, to support with practicing Q&A verbally and Q&A revision, please refer back to the channel videos to pick a mock interview that is relevant to your pathway. There is also a video specifically addressing interview technique, how to address level 1, level 2 and level 3 questions, which I'd really recommend watching. The next piece of advice I would give to any APC candidate is being sure to structure your revision around your submission documentation. A common misconception I hear from a lot of APC candidates is that the APC assessors can ask any question and expect you to know the answer in order for you to pass during the interview. And this simply is not the case, as the APC is personal to you and your own experience. The majority of the questions you face during your interview will be based on your submission, and therefore it's important to use your submission to base the majority of your revision around. Don't fall into the trap of thinking the assessors can ask you anything and expect you to know the answer in order for you to pass, as the APC is personal to you and your own experience. That being said, it's very important to know your own submission inside out, and if the assessors ask you about any part of your submission, it's very important that you are able to recall this and talk the assessors through the experience that you have personally gained. Another important piece of advice I would give is to ask your peers and colleagues to check your submission documents thoroughly. Remember that your submission documents should be of a professional report standard with excellent grammar, spelling and presentation. Ensure that your colleagues and peers check your documentation for errors, and remember that the assessors do form their first opinion of you based on your submission documentation. As mentioned, these should be of a professional report standard, and to support with this, there are examples of successful APC submissions in the link in the description below. Another important piece of advice I would give is to spend extra time revising the all-important RICS Rules of Conduct, Ethics and Professional Standards. This competency is regarded as a pass or fail competency, where any failure to answer an ethics question correctly will result in a candidate's referral. There are key areas to know inside and out, including handling clients' money, complaints handling, and setting up in practice. So make sure that you know this competency inside out. Again, to support with the revision of this competency, there are videos focused on RICS ethics and professional standards on the channel with Q&A practice that I'd really recommend watching. The next piece of advice I would give is being sure to practice your presentation thoroughly. Your presentation should appear seamless, and doing a good job here can help create a great first impression on the assessors and build your confidence within the final assessment interview. The presentation is the only time where you will have control of the room during the final assessment interview. Ensure this is well formatted, interesting and engaging. Show the assessors that this is your passion, and under no circumstances should you run over the 10 minutes allocated for the presentation. I would recommend that candidates practice their presentation a minimum of 20 times, and if it's the case that you're struggling to format your presentation, or you want to have a look at a previous successful presentation, there is a link to this in the description below. And the last piece of advice I would give is being sure to gain relevant experience and record this as you progress through your APC. Gaining and recording relevant experience as you progress will make the APC much easier. When asked questions during the final assessment interview, you will be able to relive and recall events that you have personally experienced. Being able to recall experience listed in your submission is essential, so make sure you know which experience you've referred to within your submission and be prepared to talk the assessors through this. Recording your summary of experience and your diary entries as you progress through the APC will make the process much easier, and keeping on top of this each week is essential, as falling behind with the entries can mean that you have to spend a lot of valuable time catching up on this towards the back end of the APC, so be really sure to record experience as you progress and keep on top of the entries. And to support with this, there is a free APC Excel diary template listed in the description below. I really hope you found this video useful, and please subscribe to this channel to receive ongoing APC support and resources.